Hello everyone, I welcome you all to our channel Let's Learn Automation. And in the previous session, we have seen the variable in detail, like what are the types of variable, what are the data types, and there are two data types. Then also we have seen the variable, how we can define the variable in different format, even how can modify the output too. So in this session, we are going to focus on the primitive data type. So for that, I'm going to create a new class and we'll name it like primitive data type. So basically we are going to focus on the primitive data type. So first of all, let's try to collect the size of the primitive data type. So for example, I will open Google and search for primitive data type size in Java and W3C school. I will copy this table. Start from the byte. So here we can say that we know that byte, short, int and long, these are the numeric data type where we can store all the numeric values depending upon the size of that. Then we have the float and double, which is going to store the decimal point, and then boolean and character. So let's focus on the numeric data type. So byte, take the 1 byte to store. So 1 byte mean to say that, like here I can see, will not take this much detail, but 1 byte equals to 8 bit. So if we use the byte type of data type or byte type of variable, then we'll require the 8 bit of data or 8 bit of memory, or 1 byte of memory. 1 byte equal to 8 bit. So if we are going to use the byte type of variable, then we'll require the 1 byte, and its range is from -128 to +127. So this is the very low range. So for example, if I am going to declare any variable like byte a equals to like 100, then there is no problem. Means I can this is what the data type byte, then this is the name of the variable, assignment operator, and 100. So I am assigning 100 to this variable, and this is what the keyword or reserve word, because all are in a brown color, so that's why this is the keyword, and all these data type are the keyword. So I just try to store the 100 into a. Now what it says that to store this particular thing, we required 1 byte or 8 bit of memory, and it's it store the number from -128 to 127. So we can store within this range. If I try to store the like larger number than the range, like 128, then it gives the error. What it says, type mismatch, cannot convert from integer to byte. So we are directly getting the error if we try to store the larger value, because this is what the integer value, and this value can be stored into the integer type of variable, but byte is not capable to handle 128 or +128. If I use -128, then there is no problem, error is gone. But if I use -129, then we are getting the error. So byte is not capable to handle this. So here we can only use from -128 to +127. So this is about the byte. Short, take 2 byte to store. So 2 byte means here we can say that 16 bit. So it requires 16 bit of memory to store the variable, and its range is quite larger as compared to byte. So in short, we can store in this range. So if I declare the short variable short b equals to, let's clear the space. So if I try to store b equal to like 20,000, then there is no problem, because 20,000 reside in this range. Okay, but if I try to store the 40,000, then I am getting the error, because B is not capable to store this large number, because its capacity is up to 32767. So we cannot store the 40,000. So again we are getting the error. So that's why we need to reduce it like 30,000, then it is capable to do that. So this is what the short which take the double memory as compared to byte. Then we have the int. If we need to store the larger number, then we can make use of int. So int c equals to, for example, if I need to store the 50,000, then there is no issue. Why there is no issue? Because 50,000 is this is reside within this range, because integer range is much larger as compared to short, and we can store any number within this range. So if I need to store the number like mobile number 909090, out of range. So this is the out of range, I can say here. This is out of range, so we are not able to store this. Okay, so we can able to store like this. So if I take 1, then I can store, but 9 is out of range, so that's why we are not able to store. But now if I really need to store the mobile number, then I need to use the long, long. For example, d and take, and mobile number can be 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it also gives the error, but its range is quite larger, okay, as compared to byte. And the thing is like it required 8 byte, too much amount of memory to store. Okay, long required 8 byte while integer require 4 byte, double of integer, and its range is much larger, so it required the more amount of memory to store the variable. But still we are not able to store, because if when we need to use the long, if we are going to use the long, so at that time we need to use small l at the end, or capital L. So that is what the extension we need to use whenever we are going to use the long number. But the catch is there, if the number is smaller, then there is no problem. If the number is smaller, then we can store or we can use the long as it is. There is no need to add the small l or capital L. But if the number become larger, then we need to add the small l or capital L at the end. Then it is only, then only it is able to store the value. Now this is all about the numeric data type. Okay, so byte required the lesser memory or the least memory like 1 byte, and the long required the highest memory like 8 byte. But most of the time we use the int, because int is capable to store or capable to handle all our requirement, so that's why we concentrate on int itself. Then we have the float and double. So let's take the example of float. So float e equals to, like I need to store like one, so there is no problem, we can store. So float require 4 byte on a memory to store 4, and it store the fractional number sufficient from starting from 6 to 7 decimal digit. But now again we are getting the error. So in the same way, just like we have add capital L here, here we need to add small f or capital F, so we are able to store. So in a float we need to add the, or we need to extend, we use the extension like small f or capital F if we need to use the float. And again it require 4 byte to store. But if we use the next one, that is the double, for example double and f, I can say, so this number, this can hold a much larger number, but there is no need to use the d, small d or capital D, because that is the part of syntax, and double don't require any extension. We can directly use double like this. So these are the two decimal type of data type. But the thing is, double require the larger memory and float require the smaller memory as compared to double. Then if we need to store the any boolean value mean to say that if I need to store the true or false, then I need to use the boolean. So for example, if I need to store the true for now, and we'll use the boolean g equal to true, so I can store the true or false over here. So in a boolean I can only store the two values, true or false. I cannot store anything else like 1 2. If I try to store, it will gives the error. So like change type of g to int, because 1 2 is of int type, not the boolean type. So here we need to use the true or false. Then this can be useful like for a status or flag. Let's comment this. So this boolean can be used for status or flag. Then at last we have character. Like if I need to store the single character gh, like single a, then I can make use of character. But the thing is like I need to use the single quote, and the limitation is like I cannot use two character or more than one character. I can even here I can, if I try to do that, then again I'm getting the error because this is not applicable or this is not allowed. I can use any character like dot, even I can use the asterisk sign, even I can use the ampersand, anything which is available on the keyboard, even exclamatory sign too. I can use any character which is available on a keyboard. So this is what the primitive data type. Now let's try to understand some more concept. So for example, like if I need to store the 100 value, 100, and I try to store this into number num variable, and now we already have seen that if I try to store 20 over here, then what error it throw? Like change type of G to int. Why it is saying G to int? Why it is not saying G to long or G to short or G to byte? Because by default the number value is integer. In Java, by default the number value is integer. So here we can say that like I need to store the 100 into num variable, and now I haven't here I am getting the error because I haven't declared the data type. But if I mouse over this and select the first option like create a local variable num, then by default it's showing the int, not long, not short, not byte. So that's why by default the number is of int type. So I need to change here, by default is of none type. Again, in the case of float and double we have two options, but if I try to store any number like num1 and 12.10, so this is what decimal number. Again I haven't declared the data type, so it's throwing the error. Now what will be the by default data type? So I just need to mouse over, create a local variable with num. If I select this, then I'm getting the double. So by default decimal number is of double type, and by default the normal number or numeric number is of integer type. So that's why we are going to focus on more, or we are mostly going to use the int, then double, then boolean and character. These are four we are going to use, or like this, these are the four type of variable we are going to use mostly in our program. So this is all about the primitive data type. Thank you.